Imagine stepping out into a typical Manhattan morning. A human river flows around you, each person an island, navigating the urban archipelago with eyes fixed on glowing screens. Quick robotic steps, heads tilted in perpetual digital communion. It's as if some unseen conductor orchestrates our movements, turning us into unwitting puppets. The city's symphony, the insistent honking, the murmur of countless conversations, the subterranean rumble of the subway, forms a soundtrack so constant, so pervasive, that it fades into the background, a forgotten drone. Ever stop to consider why it all feels so predictable, so relentlessly cyclical? Work, commute, sleep, work, commute, sleep. An endless grinding loop. What if this feeling isn't merely a coincidence, a collective existential ennui? What if there's a concrete reason we feel like we're merely reacting, disposable pieces in a game whose rules we don't understand and whose outcome we cannot control? Do you feel truly in control of your life? Or does it sometimes feel as though someone else is writing your script, pulling your strings? Welcome to the Threshold of Understanding, a glimpse into the arcane vault. Over a century ago, a visionary peered beyond this pervasive illusion, this suffocating sense of predetermination. He termed our everyday state waking sleep. He posited that we are, in essence, living in a trance, acting mechanically, while tragically convinced of our own conscious awareness. This man was George Ivanovich Gurdjieff, and what he unearthed did not simply diagnose this collective state of dormancy. It threatened the very power structures of his time. Gurdjieff, an enigmatic Armenian philosopher, mystic, and spiritual teacher, dedicated his life to the audacious mission of awakening humanity. He believed we inhabit an invisible prison of our own making, shackled by thought and behavior patterns we don't consciously choose. He asserted that the first crucial step to breaking free, to truly waking up, lies in understanding the profound depth of the sleep we're in. Unsurprisingly, such radical ideas were not universally welcomed. As Gurdjieff's following grew, so did the scrutiny he faced. He attracted the attention and perhaps the ire of powerful individuals and institutions, including, according to persistent rumors, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. What did he know? What secrets did he unlock that were deemed so dangerous, so destabilizing, that they needed to be silenced? Brace yourself, because what follows could shatter your preconceived notions about the nature of your existence and irrevocably alter your understanding of the world around you. Gurdjieff's discoveries are not merely intellectual curiosities. They are a clarion call, urging us to awaken from a reality we didn't even realize we were living. The year is 1920s America, the Roaring Twenties, the Jazz Age, a period of unprecedented cultural and technological ferment, a time when daring new ideas challenged deeply entrenched norms. From this vibrant landscape of innovation emerged G.I. Gurdjieff, a man who brought to the West teachings that were as profoundly transformative as they were deeply unsettling. Amidst the burgeoning modernity, Gurdjieff arrived in the United States with a message that was both simple and deeply disturbing. Humanity is asleep, and as a result, we are trapped in a self-perpetuating loop. Gurdjieff likened our lives to scratched records, forever skipping over the same grooves. We endlessly repeat the same thoughts, make the same predictable mistakes, and adhere to the same monotonous routines day after day. We are prisoners of our own ingrained habits, seemingly chained to an invisible, pre-written script. Consider your day-to-day. Have you ever found yourself mindlessly going through the motions on your way to work with no conscious recollection of the journey itself? Or perhaps consuming a meal without truly savoring the flavors, the textures, the sheer miracle of nourishment? Or engaging in conversations that feel more like automatic responses than genuine human connection? This is precisely the reality loop that Gurdjieff described, a state of hypnotic repetition, a somnambulistic existence. It's akin to being trapped within The Truman Show, a world that appears deceptively normal, yet where you're merely a cog in a larger, unseen machine. Or perhaps more chillingly, like The Matrix, a sophisticated system that keeps the vast majority of humanity enslaved, believing they are free, while their life force is unknowingly harvested. But here's the most unsettling aspect of Gurdjieff's diagnosis. There is no readily identifiable external enemy holding us captive. This isn't some elaborate conspiracy orchestrated by sentient machines or shadowy government agencies. We are, in a very real sense, our own jailers, living our lives on a pre-programmed autopilot setting. The loop, the prison, exists within the confines of our own minds. Have you ever noticed the startling similarity between conversations overheard in a crowded bar? "How was your day? Hot enough for you?" Empty words, vacuous phrases, merely filling the silence, lacking any genuine connection or meaning. Or the agonizing sameness of every Friday night. Go out for drinks, come home late, and then mechanically repeat the entire process the following week. Moments that should be unique, precious, and unforgettable are instead reduced to mere repetitions, further reinforcing the cycle. But why do we consistently find ourselves trapped in these self-defeating patterns? Gurdjieff believed that the answer lies in the dominant state in which we spend the vast majority of our lives, the waking sleep. And understanding this fundamental concept is the crucial first step towards breaking free from the loop. The concept of waking sleep is one of Gurdjieff's most challenging, yet ultimately most liberating ideas. Imagine, if you will, that you are dreaming, fully immersed in a fantastical landscape, yet you are utterly convinced that you are awake, fully conscious. Your eyes are open, you can speak, you can work, you can ostensibly live, but everything you do is purely mechanical, devoid of genuine volition or awareness. According to Gurdjieff, this is precisely how the vast majority of us navigate the complexities of life. We are not truly conscious, not truly present. We are merely reacting, like complex machines pre-programmed by ingrained habits and societal conditioning. Observe the throngs of people mechanically typing on their phones while blindly crossing busy streets, completely oblivious to their surroundings. Or the countless workers mindlessly pressing buttons in sterile offices, their minds far removed from the task at hand. Or the shoppers wandering aimlessly through brightly lit grocery stores, pushing their carts, staring blankly ahead, utterly detached from the bounty that surrounds them. The narrator pointedly asks, how many moments from your day do you genuinely, vividly remember? How many actions were truly taken because you consciously chose them, as opposed to being driven by rote memory or pre-programmed reflexes? For Gurdjieff, this pervasive lack of awareness effectively creates an existence devoid of real intention, devoid of true meaning. Our bodies may move, our mouths may speak, our minds may follow well-worn preset patterns, but our true presence, the very essence of who we are, remains stubbornly asleep, dormant, untapped. It's as if we're passively watching a movie unfold without realizing that we are actually in the movie, playing a leading role. Gurdjieff believed that this collective sleep wasn't merely an unfortunate state of affairs. It was a deeply ingrained problem that kept us trapped in destructive, never-ending cycles. The impact of this pervasive state of waking sleep extends far beyond the realm of mundane routines. When we are in this state, we rarely, if ever, question the fundamental underpinnings of our lives. We passively accept our deepest fears, our perceived limitations, our past failures, without ever realizing that there exists another, infinitely more expansive way to exist. It's akin to Truman at the very beginning of The Truman Show, utterly convinced that his life is precisely as it should be, completely incapable of imagining the existence of anything beyond the meticulously constructed facade. This pervasive sleep causes us to blindly accept destructive patterns and repeat the same soul-crushing mistakes over and over again, simply because we cannot consciously perceive any alternative options. But the question posed by Gurdjieff was even more unsettling, even more profound. If we are, in essence, asleep, then who or what is actually living our lives? He argued that the self that we believe ourselves to be is not in fact real. Rather, it is merely a patchwork assemblage of external influences, a distorted reflection of the social and cultural conditioning that has insidiously shaped our choices, our thoughts, and even our most deeply held desires. And as long as we remain stubbornly asleep, we will continue to remain trapped in this self-perpetuating state of illusion, never realizing our true potential. But what if there were a way to awaken from this slumber? What if we could somehow break free from the relentless grip of autopilot and begin to see life with crystalline clarity? Gurdjieff fervently believed that such a path existed, and that it began with a deceptively simple yet profoundly radical step: self-observation. The very concept of self-observation is so deceptively simple, so seemingly self-evident, that it is often tragically overlooked. However, Gurdjieff believed it held the key to a true, lasting inner revolution. It is not merely about thinking about yourself, or engaging in casual introspection, or even revisiting your actions in the cold light of hindsight. Instead, it is about being fully, consciously, present in the moment as it unfolds, observing each thought, each fleeting emotion, and each physical action with the detached impartiality of a neutral observer. Imagine yourself sitting in a bustling coffee shop, surrounded by the cacophony of urban life. You watch yourself automatically reach for your phone, scan through your latest messages, and take a tentative sip of your steaming coffee. But for the first time, you don't just passively act, you consciously observe the act itself. You actively notice the thoughts that arise unbidden in your mind. Perhaps something along the lines of, "I really need to reply to that urgent email," or "I wonder if anyone has noticed me sitting here alone." And instead of getting swept away by the relentless torrent of thoughts, you simply see them pass by, like fleeting clouds drifting across the vast expanse of the sky. Gurdjieff likened this transformative practice to turning on a bright light in a darkened room. Suddenly, you become keenly aware of the obstacles that have been perpetually in your way, the pieces of furniture you have been consistently tripping over for years but have never truly seen before. It is in this singular moment of heightened awareness that the real transformative work truly begins. By observing yourself in real time, you begin to realize the sheer extent to which your actions are driven by unconscious impulses, deeply ingrained fears, and societal conditioning that you never consciously chose. But instead of automatically reacting, succumbing to pre-programmed responses, the conscious observer pauses, takes a deep breath, and observes what is happening internally. The rising tension in their shoulders, the sudden heat in their face, the repetitive self-justifying thoughts of indignation. How dare he? There is no judgment, no self-recrimination. There is only calm, detached perception. The anger is undeniably there, but it no longer controls you. You are no longer a mere puppet dancing to its tune. Gurdjieff believed that this conscious self-observation was the first crucial step towards true awakening, towards breaking free from the shackles of the waking sleep. It fundamentally challenges the comforting, yet ultimately illusory view we hold of ourselves. When you truly observe yourself without judgment, you inevitably notice something deeply unsettling. You are not nearly as free, as autonomous, as you previously believed yourself to be. Your life, your choices, your very identity are, to a large extent, merely a distorted reflection of ingrained habits, societal conditioning, and destructive patterns over which you exert little or no conscious control. But by engaging in rigorous, honest self-observation, you begin to consciously separate who you truly are from who you have been conditioned to become. And here lies the real, transformative power of self-observation. It is not merely a mirror reflecting your destructive patterns back at you. It is the very first essential step towards actively breaking free from them. Instead of automatically reacting to a perceived provocation, the observer pauses, observes their internal state, consciously chooses their words, and gently alters the tone of the conversation. This is not some form of esoteric magic. It is simply the profound power of mindful presence. However, Gurdjieff cautioned that consistent self-observation is far from easy. Initially, it can be deeply uncomfortable, even profoundly disturbing. Realizing the extent to which you act mechanically, like a pre-programmed automaton, can be a genuinely shocking experience. And even when you achieve a sustained level of awareness, breaking free from deeply ingrained patterns requires ongoing, relentless effort. This transformative practice demands courage, unwavering discipline, and above all, radical honesty. But why are we so inherently mechanical? What is it that prevents us from living authentically, from expressing our true selves? Gurdjieff argued that we each carry something that is not truly ours, something that actively prevents us from realizing our full potential, a false personality. And understanding the insidious nature of this false personality is the next crucial step on the long and arduous path to awakening. The false personality, as meticulously described by Gurdjieff, represents the greatest obstacle to genuine awakening. From our earliest days of childhood, we accumulate countless layers of external influences, familial expectations, cultural norms, and societal pressures that insidiously shape who we believe ourselves to be. But according to Gurdjieff, this elaborate construction is not our true self. It is merely a distorted reflection of the circumstances we have lived through, the roles we have been forced to play. And it is this insidious false personality that relentlessly keeps us trapped in the waking sleep, perpetually distancing us from our true nature. Have you ever felt, perhaps at some pivotal point in your life, that you have lost something precious? That the unbridled spontaneity, boundless curiosity, and genuine authenticity of the person you once were has been buried beneath a suffocating mountain of responsibilities, pervasive fears, and the relentless pressure of external expectations? Gurdjieff argued that what has been lost is, in essence, the connection to your essential, authentic self, your true being. The false personality is meticulously constructed to ensure survival in society. It adapts, it appeases, and it frequently pretends to be something it is not. From a relatively early age, we learn to strategically hide our true emotions, to adopt opinions that are not genuinely our own, and to blindly follow patterns that make us feel accepted, valued, and safe. But in the insidious process of conforming, we tragically lose touch with who we truly are. How many of the choices you make on a daily basis truly stem from your own heartfelt convictions, from your own deeply held values? And how many are made merely to appease others, to gain their approval, or simply because that is what everyone else is doing? Gurdjieff argued that the false personality is far more than just a mask we wear to navigate social interactions. It is an invisible prison, trapping us in a cycle of inauthenticity. We mistakenly believe that it is who we are, that it accurately represents our true selves. But in reality, it is merely a complex collection of societal conditioning that has insidiously shaped our behavior. The good news, however, is that this false personality can be consciously dismantled, freeing us from its suffocating grip. But this is only possible if you begin to recognize its pervasive influence. Take a moment to observe yourself right now. Think about your most recent actions, the choices you have made today, the specific coffee you ordered, the particular clothes you decided to wear. Were those genuine, authentic decisions consciously made from a place of inner truth? Or were they merely unconscious reflections of what you think others expect from you, of what you believe will garner the most approval? Dismantling the false personality requires far more than just passive reflection. It demands the unwavering courage to honestly face yourself, to confront your deepest fears, and to begin consistently acting from a place of authentic self-expression. And for Gurdjieff, this transformative process begins with the diligent and consistent practice of self-observation. Self-observation is not merely a fleeting habit or a simple meditation technique. It is a profound inner revolution, a complete paradigm shift in how we relate to ourselves and the world around us. Gurdjieff believed that observing yourself with detached impartiality was the only viable way to break the destructive cycle of mechanical behavior that dominates the vast majority of our lives. However, he cautioned that this does not mean merely thinking about yourself or engaging in self-absorbed rumination. Instead, it necessitates meticulously observing your actions, your fleeting emotions, and your persistent thoughts as if you were an external, dispassionate observer, a curious scientist analyzing a fascinating subject. Imagine a typical, frustrating moment. You are stuck in gridlocked traffic and you feel your blood begin to boil as another driver carelessly cuts you off. Normally, your reaction would be largely automatic, honking your horn in furious indignation, yelling obscenities out the window, or simply holding on to the simmering frustration, allowing it to poison the rest of your day. But with consistent self-observation, something profoundly different happens. You consciously notice the anger rising within you. You physically feel the tension building in your body, and you observe the self-justifying thoughts that inevitably accompany the emotional response. You don't actively try to suppress them or to rationalize their existence. You simply acknowledge them. You witness them. In that crucial instant, you consciously separate yourself from the reaction itself. And for the very first time, you realize that you have a choice in how you respond. Gurdjieff argued that this is the very beginning of true freedom, the liberating realization that you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are not even your actions. Instead, you are the observer, the witness, the conscious presence that is aware of all these transient phenomena. This transformative practice may seem deceptively simple on the surface, but it is incredibly powerful because it reveals just how much we are prisoners of our own unconscious impulses and ingrained habits. As you consciously observe your breath, your racing heart, and the persistent thoughts of self-doubt that inevitably arise, you begin to realize that these fleeting elements do not define you. They are merely transient experiences passing through the vast landscape of your consciousness. You consciously choose to speak with a sense of calm and measured intention, a calmness that stems precisely from not identifying with the underlying fear. Self-observation also demands brutal honesty. As you diligently practice it, you inevitably start noticing aspects of yourself that you might instinctively prefer to ignore. Deeply ingrained prejudices, crippling insecurities, irrational fears that consistently control your decisions. But it is precisely in this zone of discomfort that genuine transformation begins. Because by consciously acknowledging your limitations, you can then begin to actively overcome them. Gurdjieff also cautioned against the greatest potential pitfall in this transformative practice: judgment. If you begin to criticize or vehemently justify yourself for what you observe, you immediately lose the inherent power of the exercise. The primary goal isn't to immediately change what you see, but to meticulously understand it, in the same way that a dedicated scientist carefully analyzes empirical data. You observe the intricate workings of the human machine, and by doing so, you consciously begin to break free from the grip of autopilot. Imagine driving a complex car. If you don't understand the fundamental workings of the engine, how can you effectively troubleshoot a problem? Self-observation is akin to popping the hood of your mind and diligently figuring out how everything works, understanding the intricate mechanics of your own psyche. But as Gurdjieff meticulously explained, this is merely the beginning of a lifelong journey. Consciously observing yourself is a crucial first step. But the real transformative work begins when you diligently apply this heightened awareness to actively integrate all aspects of your being, your mind, your body, and your emotions. This profound integration was the primary focus of what Gurdjieff termed the fourth way. The fourth way is Gurdjieff's revolutionary proposal that directly challenged the established spiritual traditions that dominated his time and, in many ways, continue to hold sway today. He believed that the traditional paths to spiritual growth, such as those of the fakir, the monk, and the yogi, were inherently limited because each focused exclusively on only one singular aspect of the human being, the body, the emotions, or the mind. But for Gurdjieff, this fragmented approach was fundamentally insufficient. He argued that true, lasting transformation could only occur by consciously integrating all three in a harmonious, synergistic manner. He described the fakir, relentlessly testing the limits of the physical body, the monk, deeply immersed in fervent emotional prayer, and the yogi, lost in the abstract realm of mental meditation. While these paths may prove valuable for certain individuals, they all require extreme dedication, often necessitating a complete distancing of the practitioner from the messy complexities of everyday life. But Gurdjieff believed that this radical separation was ultimately unnecessary. He proposed something radically new, the fourth way, a meticulously designed method that could be seamlessly practiced while living your everyday life without the need for monastic seclusion or ascetic deprivation. The fourth way does not ask you to renounce your worldly routines. Instead, it consciously transforms your ordinary routine into the very field of practice. Every single moment of your day, from patiently driving in rush hour traffic to mindfully washing dishes after a meal, becomes a powerful opportunity to awaken, to cultivate presence, and to work towards a state of integrated being. The true key to the fourth way is seamless integration. While a traditional spiritual path might strengthen only the mind or only the emotions, the fourth way works diligently with the mind, the body, and the emotions in a harmonious, synergistic, and balanced manner. Imagine what it would be like to live each and every moment with absolute mental clarity, profound emotional balance, and complete bodily awareness. It is akin to meticulously tuning all the instruments of a vast orchestra so that they play together in perfect harmony, creating a symphony of integrated being. Gurdjieff argued that by consciously aligning these three centers, the mind, the body, and the emotions, we begin to experience life in a far more real, meaningful, and fulfilling way. The fourth way is also deeply practical, in that it does not require secluded retreats or monastic isolation. It is instead a form of continuous inner work that you can perform wherever you are at any given moment. As you perform a common task, ask yourself, am I truly here, fully present, Are my mind, my body, and my emotions aligned in the present moment, or is each of them somewhere else entirely, lost in thought, consumed by emotion, or disconnected from physical sensation? But Gurdjieff also cautioned that the fourth way requires conscious, constant effort. It is not an easy or comfortable method. It is a relentless call to face your deeply ingrained mechanical nature and to actively build a higher, more integrated level of being. However, the transformative practice brings rewards far beyond what you could possibly imagine, a life imbued with far greater clarity, profound balance, and unwavering purpose. But how does one actually begin? Gurdjieff developed specific tools and practices meticulously designed to help us consciously integrate our mind, body, and emotions, and exploring these essential tools is the next crucial step on the journey towards authentic awakening. The practical tools and exercises developed by Gurdjieff are deceptively simple, yet profoundly effective. He believed that full consciousness could be cultivated in the midst of everyday life, without the need for extended spiritual retreats or drastically altering one's lifestyle. The secret, he argued, lies in self-remembering, a deceptively simple practice that has the potential to completely transform the way we live. How many times in the middle of an engaging conversation or a demanding task do you find yourself completely unaware of the present moment? Your mind drifts aimlessly, your hands move automatically, and you only realize that the moment is passed irretrievably after it is already long gone. For Gurdjieff, the consistent practice of self-remembering begins with a simple, deliberate effort, consciously bringing your attention back to the present moment. He suggested using small, unobtrusive triggers throughout the day to interrupt the automatic flow of life and to bring your awareness back to center. One example is to simply stop for a brief moment and sincerely ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Where am I physically located? What is it that I'm currently doing? These small, intentional moments of mindful presence begin to subtly shift something deep within you, rewiring your brain and shifting you out of the dominant state of waking sleep. It's not just a superficial exercise in paying attention. It is a profound break from the deeply ingrained autopilot that dominates the vast majority of our lives. Every single time you sincerely remember yourself, it is akin to briefly waking up from a deeply immersive dream, catching a glimpse of the underlying reality. Another powerful practice that Gurdjieff taught was the deliberate integration of conscious attention into common mundane activities. He suggested transforming routine tasks into meditative exercises, infusing them with a sense of intention and awareness. Cooking a meal, taking a leisurely walk, or even engaging in a simple conversation can all become fruitful fields of practice as long as they are performed with mindful, unwavering attention. What if every movement you made was deliberate and fully conscious? What if every single word you uttered was spoken with heartfelt intention? What would it be like to live in such a way, even for just a few precious minutes of your day? External tools can also be remarkably helpful in cultivating presence. Gurdjieff often recommended using simple physical or mental triggers to consistently remind you to practice conscious presence. The camera shows a person using a simple elastic band, which, when gently pulled, serves as a subtle reminder to return their awareness to the present moment. Another individual adjusts the notification settings on their smartphone, not to facilitate further distractions, but to provide periodic reminders to cultivate moments of conscious awareness. It may seem like a small, insignificant gesture, but every single moment of genuine presence accumulated creates a profound impact far greater than we could possibly imagine. Slowly, imperceptibly, you begin to realize that these consistent moments of mindful presence change not only how you live, but ultimately who you are, by gradually stripping away the layers of inauthenticity. In addition to the various practices of cultivating mindful presence, Gurdjieff also explored something even more mysterious and profoundly powerful: the underlying archetypes that shape our unconscious minds. These potent archetypes can serve as powerful tools for consciously breaking free from the destructive cycle of automatism, allowing us to realize our full potential. Let us explore this concept further. The archetypes, as meticulously described by Gurdjieff and closely aligned with the groundbreaking ideas of Carl Jung, are universal, primordial symbols that reside deep within the collective human unconscious. They are archetypal characters: the wise one, the hero, the rebel, the hermit, that reflect the deepest aspects of our psyche and profoundly influence our actions, our life choices, and even the very way in which we perceive the world around us. For Gurdjieff, consciously understanding and working with these potent archetypes was a viable way to break free from the pervasive grip of autopilot and to access more authentic, integrated layers of ourselves, allowing us to become fully realized individuals. Have you ever felt deeply connected to a particular character in a movie or a book, as if they were a distorted mirror reflecting who you are, or perhaps who you would like to be? This is no mere coincidence. These archetypes are timeless patterns, residing within the deepest recesses of the human psyche, and they have the potential to help us awaken from the pervasive trance of the false personality, revealing our true nature. Images of iconic characters flash on the screen. The courageous hero facing seemingly insurmountable challenges. The wise hermit withdrawing from the chaotic world to seek inner wisdom. The defiant rebel challenging the oppressive system. These powerful archetypes reside within all of us, and when we consciously recognize them, we can actively use them as potent tools to awaken forgotten aspects of our essential selves, aligning with our true calling. Gurdjieff believed that far too many people are trapped within archetypes that are imposed upon them by society. The dutiful provider who sacrifices their own dreams and aspirations for the sake of others. The tyrannical ruler who seeks power and control at any cost. While such archetypal roles may be inherently useful in certain limited contexts, they can easily become insidious prisons when lived unconsciously, stifling the full expression of our unique individuality. How many of us are unconsciously playing roles that we never actively chose, living a story that was written for us rather than by us? But Gurdjieff also saw within these archetypes the very key to consciously breaking free from this destructive cycle of inauthenticity. Consciously choosing an archetype that deeply resonates with our truest self can help us escape from the constricting bonds of societal conditioning, allowing us to express our full potential. Ask yourself honestly, who do you feel you should be at your very core? The wise sage who relentlessly seeks inner wisdom? The defiant rebel who fearlessly challenges societal norms? The introspective hermit who consciously withdraws to cultivate clarity and reflect on the deeper truths of existence? Or perhaps something even more unique and personally tailored, consciously combining multiple archetypes into a singular expression of individuality? Consciously identifying the archetype that resonates most deeply with you is not about superficially mimicking a fictional character. It is about consciously bringing forth forgotten qualities, untapped aspects of your inner potential, courage, profound introspection, inner wisdom, or heartfelt compassion. Gurdjieff also taught that these powerful archetypes could be consciously used as anchors in moments of intense difficulty. When facing an overwhelming challenge, deliberately ask yourself, how would the courageous hero face this daunting situation? How would the wise sage respond to this difficult dilemma? How would the introspective hermit handle this complex situation? This transformative practice actively helps break the cycle of automatic reactivity, creating a vital space for conscious choice. But archetypes are not merely abstract ideas. They can be actively activated and seamlessly integrated into the body, the mind, and the emotions. And that is precisely what the Gurdjieff movements aim to accomplish. The Gurdjieff movements are one of the most mysterious and fascinating practices developed by Gurdjieff. They consciously combine elements of dance, precise posture, and mindful movement, but they are far more than just mere physical exercises. Every single movement was painstakingly designed to actively break down ingrained automatic patterns, to seamlessly integrate the mind, the body, and the emotions, and above all, to consciously awaken our dormant awareness. Gurdjieff fervently believed that by consciously aligning these three essential centers, we could experience a profound state of mindful presence that few individuals are able to reach. Imagine, if you will, attempting to perform a series of intricate gestures while deliberately keeping your complete attention focused on every precise movement and every single breath. In just a few fleeting minutes, your mind inevitably tries to wander, your body makes clumsy mistakes, and your emotions react with frustration. But it is exactly at this pivotal point that the transformative magic begins to unfold. For Gurdjieff, these movements were not merely physical. They required total, unwavering focus, making it virtually impossible to remain on autopilot. Every precise step, every deliberate gesture, every subtle change in rhythm served as a valuable opportunity to consciously notice the pervasive disconnect between the mind, the body, and the emotions, and to diligently work towards unifying them into a seamless whole. These movements were specifically designed to relentlessly challenge your level of conscious attention. It is simply not sufficient to perform them mechanically from rote memory. You must be fully present in every single second, consciously aware of your body and your breath. The camera focuses on a dedicated practitioner who seems to enter a profound state of concentration, moving in perfect synchronicity with the others. By consciously aligning their mind with their deliberate movements and their authentic emotions, something truly extraordinary unfolds. You experience a fleeting moment of total awareness, of conscious presence, where there is no room for distractions or destructive automatism. The Gurdjieff movements were also skillfully used to reveal deeply ingrained internal resistance. Often, participants would experience significant discomfort or profound frustration while attempting to accurately perform them. But as Gurdjieff meticulously explained, this discomfort was actually a valuable opportunity to consciously observe one's own societal conditioning and to actively overcome it. These challenging moments of difficulty are where you consciously begin to see who you truly are, stripping away the layers of illusion. You consciously notice just how much your mind vehemently resists discipline, how your emotions react defensively to perceived failure, and how your body carries deeply rooted tensions that you were never even consciously aware of before. Additionally, the movements possess a profound energetic and symbolic dimension. Gurdjieff believed that they could consciously access powerful archetypes and universal patterns, allowing dedicated practitioners to connect their individual actions with a far greater underlying order. The Gurdjieff movements are far more than just mere exercises. They are potent gateways to a higher state of being, a state of conscious awareness that few individuals ever consciously experience. They demonstrate just how the physical body can serve as a viable vehicle for profound awakening, rather than a mere obstacle to overcome. But the transformative impact of these potent movements and of Gurdjieff's entire revolutionary philosophy did not go unnoticed. His radical ideas inevitably caught the attention of powerful authorities, including, according to persistent rumors, the FBI. And the full story behind those purported investigations is just as intriguing and compelling as his profound teachings. The persistent theory that the FBI may have actively silenced Gurdjieff inevitably raises compelling questions about the profound impact of his revolutionary ideas. In early 20th century America, while Gurdjieff was diligently introducing his teachings on awakening consciousness and achieving true self-knowledge, the country was deeply immersed in a climate of intense surveillance and pervasive control. Alternative spiritual and philosophical movements, particularly those that attracted prominent intellectuals and other influential figures, often aroused deep suspicions among the reigning authorities. In a time of growing paranoia, Gurdjieff's radical teachings inevitably caught the attention of far more than just his immediate followers. There are persistent rumors that the FBI actively monitored his activities, viewing his revolutionary ideas as a potential threat to the prevailing social stability. Gurdjieff taught something deeply subversive, the inherent power of inner freedom. He argued that truly awakened individuals simply cannot be manipulated or easily controlled because they can consciously see beyond the illusions so readily imposed by the various systems of power. Think about it carefully. What happens when individuals begin to consciously question everything? Their ingrained beliefs, their superficial identities, the entrenched power structures that surround them? For those who rely heavily on societal conformity, such widespread questioning is far more than just an inconvenience. It is an existential threat to their very existence. In Gurdjieff's specific case, the enduring mystery surrounding his work is inevitably deepened by his reserved demeanor and the enigmatic nature of his profound teachings. While there is unfortunately no definitive evidence of direct persecution, some credible scholars believe that Gurdjieff's growing influence inevitably put him on the radar of authorities who actively viewed his radical ideas as a significant threat to the established order. True freedom, Gurdjieff argued, begins when you consciously realize that the entire system you live in is nothing more than a carefully constructed illusion. For the established powers of that era, and perhaps even today, a population that consciously begins to see beyond the pervasive illusions is far more than just a philosophical problem. It is a direct and immediate crisis of control. There is also another intriguing layer to this enduring mystery: Gurdjieff's extensive connections to numerous influential figures of that time. Intellectuals, cutting-edge artists, and prominent members of the social elite were all invariably drawn to his transformative ideas, greatly expanding the reach and influence of his profound teachings. The larger his sphere of influence became, the greater the perceived risk that his revolutionary ideas could actively subvert the entrenched power structures. But there is an even deeper, more compelling reason for the alleged surveillance. Gurdjieff fervently believed that the profound transformation of individual consciousness held significant cosmic implications. He argued that humanity's pervasive state of waking sleep not only negatively impacts individual lives, but also directly hinders the progress of far greater forces in the broader universe. His teachings challenged not only the prevailing social status quo, but the very vision of humanity's role in the vast, intricate cosmos. Perhaps for certain powerful individuals, that amounted to simply too much power in the hands of a single, deeply enigmatic man. Whether fueled by reality or mere conjecture, one thing remains undeniably certain: Gurdjieff's radical ideas challenged every oppressive structure that actively keeps the world as we know it firmly in place. And to fully understand their lasting impact, we need to consciously explore just how profoundly they resonate with something far more familiar: the pervasive feeling of living in a manufactured reality, as vividly depicted in the iconic film The Truman Show. Imagine, if you will, living your entire life inside a carefully controlled set, completely unaware that everything around you has been meticulously designed to keep you trapped within its artificial confines. This is the central premise of the critically acclaimed movie, The Truman Show, and, according to Gurdjieff, it serves as a perfect metaphor for the debilitating state of waking sleep that afflicts the vast majority of humanity. Just like Truman, who initially believes that his life is entirely normal and unscripted, we blindly live inside a distorted reality that has been meticulously shaped by societal conditioning, unconsciously inherited beliefs, and ingrained mechanical habits. Gurdjieff fervently believed that humanity is, in essence, trapped within this type of invisible, artificial show. However, there is one crucial difference that separates us from Truman. Our script was not written by external directors, but by our own internalized societal conditioning. He argued that authentic awakening begins when we consciously realize just how much of this distorted reality is being fabricated by ourselves. The monotonous routines that seem utterly inevitable, the pervasive fears that we readily accept as real, the intense desires that we blindly believe are genuinely our own. What if all of this is merely part of an elaborate self-imposed illusion? But fortunately, there is legitimate hope. Gurdjieff passionately argued that we all inherently possess the capacity to awaken from this pervasive slumber, to break free from our self-imposed chains. The process is inevitably gradual and at times challenging. But every single moment of conscious self-observation, every intentional break from ingrained mechanization, actively brings us one step closer to escaping the metaphorical dome, to realizing our true potential. While Gurdjieff's radical ideas may actively challenge our conventional view of reality, they also offer us something profoundly powerful: the inherent possibility of experiencing true freedom. Not external freedom, but the far more valuable freedom to genuinely be who we truly are, to authentically express our unique essence, beyond the limiting confines of the false personality, beyond the restrictive bonds of societal conditioning, beyond the artificial confines of the artificial show that we are currently living in. We are currently living in a relentless loop of distorted reality, trapped in a debilitating state of waking sleep, passively acting out the limiting dictates of a false personality. But so, there you have it. Gurdjieff's message, though challenging, ultimately boils down to this: wake up. Recognize the ways in which we're sleepwalking through life, trapped in repetitive patterns and living according to a false personality. But know that within you lies the potential to break free, to observe yourself, to integrate your mind, body, and emotions, and to live a truly conscious life. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you resonate with Gurdjieff's ideas? What are your own experiences with self-observation or breaking free from routine? Leave a comment below. I'm really interested in hearing your perspectives and starting a discussion. And if you found this thought-provoking, please subscribe. That way, you won't miss any future explorations into consciousness, self-discovery, and the mysteries of the human experience. Thanks for watching.